views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 8 News Now or Nexstar Media Group.
Tonight on Politics Now, Nevada still on pause. What our state task force says about the rising number of cases. Plus,
so we're developing messages right now and for various groups.
A look at Nevada's plan to get people to take a vaccine when it becomes available. And
everybody can go register, so nobody had to hack into anything.
The I-Team digs into how much fraud there is in our unemployment system and how scammers are pulling it off.
From 8 News Now, this is Politics Now.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'm John Langler, and we start with the fight against the coronavirus. There is still no word whether Nevada will implement tighter COVID restrictions next week. Our case positivity rate is about 22%. Nevada is now second in the country for positive test percentages. Nevada's COVID-19 task force reports more active cases now than during the summer peak. State health officials estimate there are nearly 28,000 active cases of COVID-19 in Nevada. Although there is good news. In terms of the overall percentage of cases, fewer people are dying.
Evidence continues to suggest, not specifically in Nevada, but nationally and internationally, that any setting where there's an opportunity for people to be unmasked has a higher chance for disease transmission.
Governor Sisolak's 3-week pause on business and other activities ends next Tuesday. The state's COVID-19 response director says the governor is taking all of this new data under advisement. The FDA is expected to issue an emergency use authorization for the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. An advisory panel approved it on Thursday. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Alexandra Limon has the latest.
And that concludes the vote. So we do have a favorable vote.
The FDA advisory panel voted in favor of approving Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. This after the FDA heard hours of testimony Thursday. Pfizer's senior vice president of clinical research and development told the FDA the company hasn't found serious safety concerns.
Injection site pain was observed frequently. Fever and chills, along with other systemic manifestations, were observed.
The Pfizer executive also said the side effects are usually mild to moderate and consistent with what's expected from a trial that involves many people who are older or have comorbidities. Evan Fine, a participant in the Pfizer trial, told the FDA he believes he received the real vaccine, experienced only mild side effects, and has not contracted COVID-19 in the 5 months since his first dose.
Absent compelling reason not to authorize it, it is simply immoral and unethical to deny the vaccine to healthcare workers or first responders who want it.
Nevada Senator Jackie Rosen has a message for Americans worrying the vaccine was developed too quickly.
We have to trust the scientists. There's no ulterior motives if that's what people are thinking of. The whole world, this virus is attacking all of us, and we have to get out of it together.
Despite emergency use authorization for the vaccine, the FDA and Pfizer say they will continue to monitor and study participants in the trials and the effects of the vaccine. In Washington, Alexandra Limon.
So in light of this decision, expect to see a public vaccination campaign by the Southern Nevada Health District when the vaccines are formally approved. Kristen Drummond shows us this effort and who it plans to target.
Preparing for a COVID-19 vaccine campaign rollout.
So we're developing messages right now and for various groups.
The Southern Nevada Health District finalizes facts to soon share with the public.
We'll have a FAQ pretty soon on our website and some information there on how to get the vaccine.
Joanne Rue-Piper is the Director of Clinical Services at the Health District. She says the effort targets everyone, including minority communities.
We have specific funding for Hispanic families and African American families because those groups have been affected by COVID more than others.
How difficult do you think it may be to try and convince people to take the vaccine?
To me, it's very unknown at this point.
We need to move forward
Dr. Jeffrey Ebersole studies immune system responses. The immunologist at UNLV understands some question the effectiveness.
The reality is that both of these companies have been working with this type of nucleic acid vaccine for probably a decade.
He says the vaccine includes a part of the virus that triggers an immune response.
You get it injected into your arm, your muscle cells pick up this RNA, and then our own cells actually make the antigen.
The potential cure to bringing normalcy to the community with the help of health leaders.
We'll use all of our tools that we can to get people to take a vaccine.
Kristen Drummond, 8 News Now.
So in Congress, the next step is passing a COVID-19 relief bill. The House passed a temporary government funding bill this week to try and buy more time for talks.
I feel like I've been a broken record. You know, I represent the state that's been the most economically ravaged from this pandemic, and so I have been pleading with anyone I can for us to get a package way back in May. I mean, when we passed the HEROES Act, and then in September again, and so nothing gets Congress moving quite like a deadline, so I'm hoping that people on the other side of the aisle can see the need.
That is Nevada Democratic Congresswoman Susie Lee. She says $900 billion in this stimulus deal. It's not enough, but it's better than nothing, she says. She adds more stimulus is going to be needed in the future. However, Congresswoman Lee would have voted for this one to get us through the year. However, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, they're rejecting that proposal. Now a new deal is on the table that includes direct payments to you and me. The plan is from the White House. It is slightly more than the last package, calls for a $600 direct payment to Americans who are suffering, but does not offer additional money for unemployment. Both sides also remain deadlocked over funding for state and local governments and liability protections for organizations.
And Republicans see no need to send huge sums of money to state and local governments whose tax revenues have actually gone up.
Well, I think cutting unemployment to virtually almost nothing is a very, very bad idea.
Both sides say they hope a deal can be reached by Christmas. A Las Vegas man is accused of putting threatening posts on Governor Steve Sisolak's official Facebook page. Prosecutors say this man named Stephen Feeder posted at least 34 times calling the governor a tyrant. Court records claim Feeder made the posts back in May. He allegedly told a detective he was, quote, very angry and upset over the governor's COVID-19 response. And one of the posts says, in part, quote, the tyrant has declared war on people, and like Hong Kong protesters, we need to arm ourselves and form a militia and fight back. Feeder's lawyer says his client never acted on what he wrote, and he has a right to free speech. To immigration now. For the first time since 2017, the Daca program is open to new applicants. This protects undocumented immigrants brought here as children from deportation. Orko Mena explains what this could mean for Nevadans.
This means the Trump administration has to fully restore Daca, an Obama-era initiative. Now, approximately 1 million undocumented immigrants, including thousands here in Nevada, could benefit from it. New applications for Daca, which stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, have not been accepted for about 3 years. But on Friday, a federal judge ordered the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to take in applications for immigrants who qualify. Daca shields certain people who came to the U.S. as children from deportation, which means they can stay in the country for 2 years subject to renewal. The judge also said approved applicants should get work permits that last for 2 years, and current DACA recipients known as Dreamers can travel abroad and return to America. There are currently more than 640,000 Dreamers in the U.S., and according to the American Immigration Council, over 12,000 Dreamers lived in Nevada as of March 2020. Local attorneys say many more can now be helped.
We thought that we would have to wait until President-elect Biden came into office for USCIS to start accepting those applications, but this order is making it very clear that USCIS has to accept them. So there's no longer a waiting period. It's time to apply.
Requirements for DACA eligibility include having no serious criminal convictions, arriving in the U.S. before age 16, living here since at least 2007, and earning an American high school diploma, GED, or serving in the military military. Many are calling this new order a victory for Dreamers, but the fight isn't necessarily over yet. A DHS spokesman says while the department will comply with the decision, they are working with the Justice Department on next steps to appeal. Reporting in Las Vegas, Orko Manna, 8 News Now.
Next on Politics Now, getting to the bottom of unemployment fraud.
We found in one case 2,000 claimants that shared the same mailing address.
Coming up, the I-Team finds out just how many city and state employees have had their IDs stolen. As the number of coronavirus cases grows, so does the number of Nevadans victimized by unemployment fraud. There are still many unanswered questions about how this fraud is happening in the first place, but it is an issue the I-Team is following. Vanessa Murphy has that story.
From a rapper who made a song bragging about unemployment fraud and was later arrested for the crime, to a mail carrier who prosecutors say was part of a scheme to use addresses on her route to help collect the debit cards. Employment departments are overwhelmed due to job losses from the COVID-19 pandemic. Schemers see an opportunity. And fraud is so bad, Nevada's Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation, also known as DETR, is still analyzing the numbers to figure out how much money it paid to people who shouldn't have received it.
What happened, I think, initially is there was a desire to pay as many legitimate claimants as possible, as fast as possible.
Mike Schmidt runs a Las Vegas IT company, and he's on the DETR strike force, a group trying to solve problems at the agency, including fraud. He says his team tried to match claimants with Department of Motor Vehicle records. They're finding alarming patterns and alerting law enforcement.
We found in one case 2,000 claimants that shared the same mailing address.
Schmidt says the system was built for convenience, one reason why fraudulent applications weren't caught before the money was paid.
Everybody can go register, so nobody had to hack into anything, nobody had to break into anything.
But personal information is being stolen to file fraudulent claims. Elisa Cafferata, who heads DETR, says it's not happening within the agency.
What we're seeing and what other states are seeing is that this is a result of data breaches that have happened to other companies, and the information is out in the dark web, and the criminal activity is certainly concerted.
The I-Team has been trying to find out how the information is stolen in the first place, reaching out to agencies like the FBI and the U.S. Postal Inspection, which investigate the fraud.
That's something we're still looking into, and I don't want to comment too soon on that.
We don't have a concrete answer as to where they're getting that information from.
The question is, well, then how do you stop it if you don't know how it's starting?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that I don't have the answer for, but you know, the only thing we can do is we can preach prevention, just for people to check to make sure that they haven't had unemployment filed in their name, and if they find out they have, to report that right away.
The I-Team obtained the numbers for some public employees who have become victims. Clark County reports out of its approximately 10,000 employees, 1,120 have been the subjects of fraudulent claims. The city of North Las Vegas reports 282. Las Vegas reports 568, and Henderson reports 615. While victims are urged to report fraud to law enforcement and DETR, Cafferata says employers can play a major role in stopping it also.
We give them a notice that a claim has been filed on an employee, and several times those employees are still working. So as soon as they log into their portal and let us know, we can stop payments on those claims.
Vanessa Murphy reporting there. So the head of DETR says staff are so overwhelmed with unemployment cases now they can't follow up on a lot of these fraud claims. But as long as you have filed the correct documentation, it should and will be addressed. Every morning, thousands of Nevadans are waking up and looking at their unemployment portal. They're trying to figure out if they've had that claim processed. Joe Moeller shares one story of navigating not having a job.
To get by as they wait for their unemployment benefits. Today we came to East Las Vegas to speak to a woman who is getting desperate for answers regarding her claim as she continues to live in her brother's garage.
Unfortunately, right now I stay in his garage,
with my puppy. I don't have a bathroom. I don't have a kitchen.
This is Nairi McGee.
It's a little hard, excuse me, it's different for me. I'm 28, you know, I've always worked. I've never been on welfare, unemployment.
She says she has to live in this garage as she waits for answers regarding her unemployment benefits.
This month will be 9 months. On the 4th, it was 9 months. 9 months, no pay.
She says she worked at a beauty supply store that was forced to close due to the pandemic. Right now, she relies on her mom, who lives in another state.
My mom, she's like my rock. She helps me out as best she can.
She told us she sent in paperwork that was asked from her twice and has one pending resolution.
And then they asked again in August, and I also provided that to them too. And it's just been pending. I've called, I talked to customer service reps for Dieter, and they have just let me know to just wait.
She is hoping to find another place to live once she gets some benefits. After contracting COVID herself earlier in the fall, she said her job search has not been easy. 9 months after filing, she still checks online frequently.
Every other day. Yeah, every other day. And praying to God that it changes, or they set an interview for me to speak with someone.
McGee says she will continue to look for a job, and all she can do right now is wait and just keep checking her portal. Reporting in East Las Vegas, Joe Moeller, 8 News Now.
Dieter tells us week 5 of the lost wages assistance situation that is still being paid out. It could take another week. The state trust fund that pays out regular unemployment insurance benefits is almost out of money. Dieter says that's just about 1 week's worth of payments left in that account. Federal officials have been told about this. Everyone on unemployment is still going to get that money, so Nevada instead is going to start borrowing from the Department of Labor. 34 other states are already doing the same thing because their trust funds for unemployment ran out as well. Coming up on Politics Now, President Donald Trump is still fighting. Up next, his latest strategy to try and keep President-elect Biden from taking the White House.
You're watching Politics Now.
The Nevada Supreme Court has denied the Trump campaign's request to overturn the election results here in our state. Judges unanimously agreed with a lower court judge who found no evidence of widespread voter fraud. States submitted their certified election results this week. That narrows President Donald Trump's hopes of overturning the 2020 election. As our Washington, D.C. correspondent Kelly Meyer found, many Capitol Hill Republicans are putting plans for a Biden presidency on pause.
Senator Marco Rubio isn't ready to say who won the 2020 election.
What I said I would accept is ultimately what states certify legally through their process and the Electoral College decides. That's how our system works.
Rubio says he's letting the process play out.
I do think there are some things that happened in this election that we need to go back and look at.
The Florida Republican says while his state was prepared for the flood of mail-in ballots this year, many others were not.
And it caused all sorts of delays in the vote counting process that has undermined the confidence of a significant percentage of the American people in the result.
Republicans on Capitol Hill are pushing back on planning for a Biden transition until after the Electoral College results are finalized. Democrats tell me the delays are dangerous.
We have a centuries-long tradition of the peaceful transfer of power.
North Carolina Democrat David Price is encouraging his colleagues to be honest about the results and stand up to the president.
It really is distressing that Republicans will not call his hand.
Rubio says he doesn't know if President Trump will attend the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden.
He's not a politician. He doesn't operate in an orthodox way.
But Rubio doesn't expect that day to end the president's political career.
Look, if the president runs, he's going to be the nominee, and I think he's going to win.
The Electoral College casts its votes on December 14th. Reporting in Washington, I'm Kelly Meyer.
Back here at home, the 2021 Nevada legislative session starts in February. Lawmakers are busy putting in their bill draft requests, and there are already 600 of them. Several hundred have a description already attached. So let's go through a few of those on the state Senate side first. Senate Bill 3 gives Nevada judges a $30,000 a year pay raise. It applies to justices in the state Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and district court judges. It's sponsored by the Senate Committee on Finance. Illegal fireworks are a bigger problem every year, and Senate Bill 4 increases the fine for using them. It allows county commissioners to pass ordinances regulating fireworks and create criminal penalties. A maximum civil fine would be up to $50,000 for a single violation. This measure was sponsored by the Senate Committee on Government Affairs. Senate Bill 36 tackles the growing problem of student suicides. It requires every school board to create a committee that would develop a plan to respond to a crisis, an emergency, or a suicide. And they would also have to include specific information about how this would work during a pandemic. This was sponsored by the Senate Committee on Education. Senate Bill 39 would modernize the way the state accepts money. It would allow people to pay government entities by credit card, electronic transfer, or even Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. The treasurer would have to get permission for this last one, that last thing I just referenced, and that was sponsored by the Senate Committee on Government Affairs. Next week, we're going to look at a few of the bills on the Assembly side that will come up in the next legislative session. This week in What to Watch, we're keeping a close eye on our state's 3-week coronavirus pause. Next Tuesday marks 3 weeks since Governor Sisolak told everybody to stay home, and our COVID numbers have not gone down. So we're waiting to see if we might see some tighter restrictions from the governor on Tuesday. Nevada's presidential electors cast their votes for Democrat Joe Biden on Monday. The Electoral College meets in all 50 states that cast their votes. Biden should get at least 306 of the electoral votes, well above the necessary 270 to win the White House. We'll keep an eye on all of those things all week long. That'll do it for us here on Politics Now. We thank you very much for watching. To stay up to date on all the political news across Nevada, just go to 8newsnow.com, and we'll see you every Saturday. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good rest of the weekend.